Welcome to AromaticChat, the podcast that introduces you to registered, clinical, and certified aromatherapists around the world. Every other week, my beautiful sister sits down with a different aromatherapist to learn about their aromatic journey and how they use aromatherapy in their lives and their business. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching, and my sister, Melissa, is your host. She's a master transformational coach and a registered aromatherapist, and probably the coolest girl I know.
Hey friends, welcome to podcast episode number 103, Aromatic Chat with Monselete Bowden. With over a decade thriving in the business world and 2 decades deeply ingrained in wellness and beauty, Monselete proudly holds accreditation from the International Coaching Federation. She's a certified aromatherapist and possesses a license in aesthetic science. Her expertise is a unique fashion honed through years of experience in aromatics and lifestyle coaching. As the visionary creator behind Aromatic Readings, she offers a unique aromatic card reading experience, delving into the multi-dimensional aspects of human existence through the lens of the 5 pillars of life. These pillars are interconnected and harmonized using specially crafted aromatic roll-on botanicals. Her heart is set on guiding you towards flourishing personally, achieving equilibrium in all facets of life, and discovering your true core, be it as an individual, within a team, or across your entire business. Monselete brings a unique take on aromatherapy that I think you're going to really love. So, let's get started. Well, Monselete, thank you so much for joining me on Aromatic Chat. I can't wait to dive in and hear all about your aromatic journey.
I would say that it started in the mid-90s. I was first introduced to aromatherapy. I'll never forget, I had 4 essential oils that I was using in a nebulizer. It was tea tree, eucalyptus, ravensara, and peppermint. Okay. And that was my introduction. And from there, I was sort of at a betwixt place. I was in my mid to late 20s, and my father had, maybe a year after I was introduced to the oils, my father had been killed accidentally. An hour after I spoke to him on the phone, another hour later, I'm told he's been killed and you've got to get on a plane and go, come home. And it was kind of during that period that I really began my journey with aromatherapy. And I took my first certification class with Michael Scholes that led on to be a very long relationship with him. And so from that point, I was doing aromatherapy treatments, bodywork treatments, taking clients. And that led me to move into aesthetics and skincare and get a license there. And I continued to work in the wellness industry for probably 10 or 15 years. And then I got really burnt out. I didn't know at the time how to balance my passion, which was my work, with my personal life. And so I walked away from the profession and I continued coaching. So coaching kind of happened around, I think I took my first certification in coaching at NYU in 2004. And I was doing a lot of internal coaching. And as you know, working as a therapist, you're doing a lot of coaching. And so fast forward, I left the wellness industry and I moved into a different sector in business, and I continued coaching. And then I had another accident, which again brought me back to the oils, which is just so interesting how they call you when you're really in this moment of need. So now I was in my late 40s and I was coaching, but I was thinking something is missing and I'm not sure what it is. And so that led me to thinking I need to go back to basics, which is the aromatherapy, and how can I help people on a cellular level? And how can I bring wellness back into this coaching place? Because everybody I was coaching, there were these amazing business owners, creative professionals, but they're always in their head, always in their mind. How do we get back, how do we get you back connected into your body? And I felt is through the sense of smell.
Wow. Okay. You shared a whole lot there. I want to come back to this idea of the burnout because I feel that there are so many people in the wellness space, and this is just a sad commentary, isn't it? In the wellness space who are burnt out on helping other people be well.
Well, I agree, number one. And number two, I think it takes so much energy to serve other people in the wellness space, because it's not just an emotional connection we're having, it's mental. At times it's physical because it's hands-on work. So it's everything that you're giving to these clients on top of the fact that you are receiving their energy, because most likely you're an empath, which is why you're in that industry. And you also might be an introvert, which means it's taking you even more energy to put out into serving these people. And I think that our own personal health at times just falls by the wayside because our commitment is to serve. And that's our sort of becomes our first priority. And we keep thinking, oh, I'll just keep giving. I'll keep giving without saying, wait, I need to pause and I need to fill my own cup.
Yeah. But isn't it funny though? Because like my passion really is helping other people succeed. And I get this high when I'm doing the work, right? I get really jazzed when I'm doing the work, but that's not sustainable. That's that instant connection, that instant emotion, but then the drain comes afterward. So yeah, for
Yeah,
real.
it's funny you say that, because I see that too, just in all early stages of business owners who are doing their passion, and it's like the full honeymoon, they're full throttle. It's, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it's like you're creating this business that you really can't sustain because you're so excited, versus looking ahead and saying, okay, I'm 15 years into this. What do I want that to look like? Now, how do I create that here? And that's been, for me, sort of the secret to entering into this business differently now, is by doing it that way.
Yeah, incredible. So one of the other things that you brought up was getting these really successful business people out of their heads and into their bodies. How does scent help with that?
Well, I think we can't smell and think at the same time.
Ooh, I like that.
And the minute you smell, you can probably think of a second later. So we know, I mean, you and I know, I don't know about the audience, that the minute we smell something, it goes into the limbic system, which is where we feel, which is where we have memories. So that is immediately getting us into our body. And if we have a thought 1 second later, it doesn't matter. We've already intercepted the mind. We've bypassed it, gone to the limbic system, gone into the body, and now we're feeling.
Yeah, and that somatic experience is, I think that right there is the healing secret sauce. Being able to get connected with the physical body.
It is so important.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you help people with that process? I mean, because we could give somebody here some lavender to smell, but is that really going to do it? Like, how do you help people get out of their heads and into their bodies?
Yeah. Well, just smell something, right? That would be helpful for anybody.
Cinnamon rolls. Yes.
Chocolate chip cookies,
Yes.
a flower, walk through nature.
Mm.
So most of my clients have done a lot of work on themselves, and a lot of them are already where they want to be in their career. I mean, they're doing their passion. Maybe they're trying to now get to the next level, but they're pretty aware of themselves, but they're kind of, I think, struggling with connecting to themselves, which is where they're staying in their head, and trusting their own intuition again, and also figuring out how to integrate how they really want to show up in the world versus just doing and doing all the tasks. And so what I do is I use what I've created, a first of its kind, an aromatic card reading. So I've created a card reading, which is taking images of botanicals, putting them on cards, and letting the client look at them and connect to which card they're connecting to.
Ooh.
Then we narrow that down, and I pull out cards that have words that reflect the botanical images or the plant images on the card that support those specific botanicals. What the client doesn't know is that the cards they're looking at are actually the ingredients to all of the formulation roll-on botanical blends, which is an essential oil blend that I have. So I want them to be a part of choosing what they want to put on and what they want to smell.
And I love that you're just doing that like intuitively. They're not smelling different little blends or putting them on scent strips or anything like that. They're like intuitively picking the botanical. Oh my word, this is inspired. How in the world did you come up with this idea?
Yes. Yeah, I'm still figuring that out. How did I come up with this, right? It's so funny when I decided I wanted to incorporate essential oils, I called my dear friend Michael Scholes, and I was like talking to him, and he said, if you know him, I mean, he's a vintage aromatherapist, as we would say, and he says, come down to my lab for the weekend.
Ooh,
come
oh
stay with
my
me for
word.
This is a man who doesn't invite anybody into his lab. When I got there, he's like, you can't take photos in the lab. You can't do this in the lab. I mean, he was very strict. And he has a library of probably, I don't know, over 700 oils. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, oils that I've never been able to purchase or have. I mean, there I was. And when I came back, I had some different formulations, but I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I knew I wanted to create an experience, not just a coaching session.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought, well, I don't want to create anything from scratch. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like, don't make this difficult. And then a year in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm creating something that's never been done before. Like, what am I even doing? But I knew a few things. I knew that I wanted to create an experience. And I also knew that I wanted to do something virtually. So then I'm saying, well, how do I deal with scent virtually? Like, what is he even going to look like? And that's when I started thinking, all right, how do we connect with our other senses? Because we know what we need. As a coach, you know what you need. I'm just here to help you see those blind spots. And so I started kind of looking at it through that lens of, let's connect. I can connect with them virtually through visualization and through audio. And so through the visualization of seeing what you need, and then me giving you 2 guided meditations about what the smell is to you, you get to decide, you get to choose this. And so that's kind of how it happened. I mean, it was in stages. I felt like I was creating a ballet, doing all these different pieces, and then how they were going to come together. It was definitely, it took a while.
That's amazing. I just love it. It's really intuitive and inspired. Those are the 2 words that just keep coming up for me.
Thank you
really
so
cool.
Thanks
And the
so
fact
much.
that you got to go to Michael's lab.
Yeah,
Oh my word.
Yeah, he's really amazing. Yeah.
He really is amazing. I did an interview with him a while back, and I don't know, he's incredible. Just an incredible human.
Yes.
And an amazing aromatherapist. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's great. That's great. So tell me about your roll-on botanicals.
Well, I call it a roll-on botanical. I think the average person would call it an essential oil blend. I have all of these roll-on botanicals in a serum. I didn't want to use an oil. I really wanted to use something special that would melt into the skin. They're small enough to fit into your pocket. They are all really specifically created and chosen to support what I call sort of the 5 fundamental aspects of life, which are well-being, prosperity, relationships, business, and spirituality. So I feel we have to look at a person as a whole, right? Because we sort of know that issues are rarely single or isolated manifestations. And so if we can sort of look at what I call the 5 pillars at once together, we're going to have a much better picture of how we treat somebody and how we can support them through aromatherapy.
Yeah. So what are some of your other passions?
Ooh, there's so many. I think, they kind of change with the season. For now, the summer, I'm going to be into paddle boarding.
Ooh.
And I love hiking. I love walking, exercising. I love to read. I love reading everything, poetry, old literature, obviously things are in skincare and science. I love music, listening to music. and gardening. I'm really into, I have this country house now, and I'm doing all these different gardens and just being outside in nature. I guess that's a hobby.
Sure, that could definitely be a hobby and a passion at the same
Sure.
time. Same
Art.
time.
I love art, seeing art, going to gardens, seeing beautiful old architecture. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
what kind of gardening do you do? Because there's different kinds, right? Like I can grow food like there's nobody's business, but give me a flower and I don't know what to do with it. So
That is so fun. So I'm the opposite. I'm afraid to grow food. I'm like, that's too hard. So I started, I'm new. I started 3 years ago. So I started with like the easiest things, cone flowers. Those won't die on me. So I'm trying to sort of do an English garden theme. And we have, there's hostas, there's cone flowers, there's Carly Stokes, there's all kinds of different sort of English flowers and bushes. And I'm trying to get things that are easy to maintain because I'm still learning. But it's funny, this year I started planting some herbs because I think, okay, I'll start with herbs and then I'll move into food.
nice. Herbs are easy, right?
Yeah.
You throw them in the ground, they grow, you cut them, you eat them. It
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
That's awesome.
Yes, I started with succulents. You can't kill a cactus. I mean, you can, but
Yes, you can, but they are definitely hardy. We had a huge cactus when we lived in Texas, and I would have to trim that thing back every year because it just was prolific. It would spread.
that's how I
Crazy.
feel about my rosemary. I'm doing a rosemary in the house. And
Yes,
I was like, I guess I need to start cutting it back.
yeah, rosemary is like that. But rosemary is so great for so many things, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any aspirations for distilling, or are you just growing at this point?
That's funny. I was thinking about that the other day. I think right now, just growing and just enjoying it. I sometimes I like to turn every hobby I have into work.
Let's not do that with plants. Let's just
Just connect with them as they connect with the earth, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So since you are a coach, right? What is the first step that a person needs to take? This is a big question. Oh my gosh. What is the first step that a person needs to take to create what they truly want in life? This is not a small thing, people. First step.
I think the first step is to recognize who they truly are, what the weaknesses are, how to use them as strengths, and how to become open about change.
That was more than one step.
The first step would be getting into your body.
But those were all great steps. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, getting into the body.
Being self-aware. I mean, I think in order to make a change or to be open to being coached, you have to be self-aware that that's even something you want.
Right. So in my coaching practice, like I don't want people working with me that aren't ready.
Yeah.
Right? That's like pulling teeth. And nobody wants that. Yeah, we definitely want people that are ready. But how do you know that you're ready? How does someone know that they're ready?
Everybody's different. I think you have to really want it, but I think it's so personal.
Yeah.
But when you said that, I agree. And it reminded me of a quote, or not really a quote, but a saying that this coach has. Her name is Lissa DeHart. And she'll say, I want to work with the mermaids. I want to work with the people wanting to go deep, not just the surface level, but that want to go down deep. And I love that. I love that visualization, because I think to really begin that sort of change, you've got to want to go deep. And not everybody is ready. Not everybody's ready to go deep. They sort of stay on the surface. They stay safe. They dip a toe in. But like you, I'm ready for people to come down and let's go dive in the deep end.
I'm with you. And I love that analogy
Yeah.
of working with the mermaids, the people that are ready to go deep. I love that picture, that visual.
Me too.
And it's a beautiful picture, right? That's just beautiful. Yeah.
It is. And to say something else about that, I think a lot of people who don't know the difference between coaching and therapy, I think sometimes they think, oh, going deep means I've got to sit in my past and talk about my trauma a day, every time we meet. And that isn't what coaching is. And I think that maybe people getting a better understanding of how we as coaches can come in and support you. We're not going to sit in your past. This is about moving you forward to what you really, really want.
Exactly. And depending on the coach that you hire, right? Because there's all different kinds of coaches out there.
Yeah.
But those of us that are taught these somatic techniques, I mean, really, we want to see you connect and then like propel forward. And that's why you hire a coach, is to be able to move forward quickly and effectively, not just, move forward quickly, but effectively.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I always say, I don't treat the person. I'm sorry, I don't treat the problem. I don't coach the problem. I coach the person, and I treat the person with the aromatic. So when people are coming to me, whether it's the one aromatic reading experience, or they want to work 2 or 3 or 6 or 8 times, or however that looks for them, we're not really talking about their problems. We're talking about them and how they want to show up, and what is their essence, right? In the place of showing up.
Right.
Versus the problem. And the minute that we start focusing on that, isn't it funny how all of a sudden the problems begin to resolve themselves?
It really is. But one of the best questions, and I'm sure you ask this to your clients as well, is what do you want? But how many people have no clue
It takes
how
a while.
to answer that question? So sometimes it takes some time.
It does.
With the client to really just get to the essence of what is it that you really want, because we think we know, and we have all these surface desires, but the deep wanting, that can sometimes take some time to unravel.
It does take time. And if somebody's told you right away in the first 5 minutes, that probably isn't really it. And if they've told you and then they come back and there hasn't been much movement, it's because that probably really isn't it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, because I think if we can focus on the essence of who they are, they're going to start to figure out what they want. Or because what they want will change by how they want to show up as who they are, I think.
Right. And sometimes just figuring out who they are can be that very first step. Yeah. Love this. Love this. So what are you working on right now that's got you really excited?
Ooh.
And it doesn't have to be aromatherapy related. Really, it can be anything.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm adding to my gardens. I, continuing education for coaching, for aromatherapy, it never ends. And I think that's why we love it, because it doesn't ever end. And I am working on something I've added a few more roll-on botanicals to my collection. And soon right now I have 10 in the collection. Soon I'll have 13. My goal is to have a few more so that I can start going deeper with clients, and we focus on the tenses of life, the past, the present, and the future, and how they're all interlinked and connected, and then how the blends can be specific for those tenses in your life. And I'm kind of excited about that.
That is really exciting. And I love, you said earlier that you have your botanicals in a serum and not just, right, because most of us put them into coconut oil or sweet almond, but you've got this serum, which is very similar. I'm not saying it's the same, but like Michael Scholes is in a serum.
And he helped me. Yeah, he helped me formulate. And because I have a skincare background, aesthetics, I was like, I love your serum. I want to do something similar. Help me. Let's figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like rolling on velvet is what it feels like.
Yeah.
So just so you know, people, putting it in a serum, it's like rolling velvet onto your skin. It just feels wonderful. And it does. It soaks right in. It's amazing.
It's really magical. It really is.
Magical. We've got mermaids and we've got magic.
We need some sparkle.
We do need sparkle. So, okay, tell us, who do you look up to that sparkles?
Ooh. Well, I'm obsessed with a theologist who has now passed, but Dr. Timothy Keller, who is this amazing theologist. He really inspires me. I also love Marsha Reynolds and Marian Franklin. They're both big coaches in the coaching world. Michael Scholes, how can I not be inspired by him? John Steele, Salvatore, I would say, Marcel. I mean, these guys are just great. And it's interesting because we've got all these vintage, really great men. And, Jane Schutz, who is not their age, probably younger. I mean, I think that she's sort of at the forefront of bringing the education to technology in a way that they are unable to, or they're just not doing probably. So that I think that that's inspiring and exciting.
Yeah, that is. Okay, so the mission of the podcast is to connect you to the listeners. So how can they find you? How can they connect with you? Whether it's for your botanicals or coaching, like how can they find you?
So I have a website, my first name, monselete.com. I'm also on Instagram. So if you want to see visuals of my cards and my product, that is a great place to go. It's my first name again, Monselete. And I'm also on LinkedIn. And I would say you can DM me on Instagram. You can reach me through my website for any of those aromatic readings, for coaching. I have a storefront as well if you just want to use your own intuition and purchase your own roll-on botanical.
So you did tell me that you have a free gift for the listeners. Would you like to tell them about the gift that you have for them?
Oh yeah, so I have an interactive guide. I have 5 days of mindfulness, and it's free. You can click on the link that either you provide or go to my website. They can download the interactive guide, and it's really attainable. I hate things. I hate that we are always having to do so many things to get to some place, and so this is really easy. It's really attainable, not overwhelming. And I also list oils that you can use for the mindfulness, as well as my roll-on botanicals if you end up purchasing them.
Very cool. Can you share with us just like one example of how you have seen specifically your roll-on botanicals change or shift or transform a client?
With many of the clients, I think it's them integrating their mind and their body together. Many of them are showing up differently to just do everyday things. Their action of doing has changed. I think there are some people who have started using the blend and they're making decisions that they weren't able to make before, leaving a job of 10 years for a different job. They're finding courage. They are removing fear. They are also kinder to themselves. And they're finding time to be kind to themselves and support themselves on their own journey without looking outwardly.
I love that. I call that outsourcing, right? Where we go, what do you think, Monselete? What should I do? Outsourcing, right?
Oh, she's doing that. Should I be doing that?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Social media.
And quieting the mind, just quieting the thoughts and hearing the soul.
That's so funny because I'm always thinking, always thinking. Always thinking. And my dad even said to me, I said, "Hey dad, I was thinking." He goes, "Of course you were."
Well, yes, and I'll say we are now becoming more and more that way because of technology. Look, technology is wonderful because it makes our lives easier. Things happen faster. But because we are constantly connected, we are always thinking. Our mind is never really resting. I mean, if you think about it, except for when you're sleeping, we are connected. And even then you could be connected to a meditation, but our mind is always working. And now because of technology, it isn't stopping. And I think that that is creating low-level exhaustion, low-level anxiety. And I think that, well, I just had a thought about aromatherapy and where we've gone in the past 30 years since I've been in it. But it just, and because of that, we look at aromatherapy and we think this, these are plants, this is nature. And this is about getting into the body and connecting with ourselves and connecting with others. I mean, that's what plants are, right? They're integrating and connecting in the world. And there is this movement with this new generation of aromatherapists, which is fabulous, which is all about the science. It's all about academia, all the studies, but that's keeping us in our head. And isn't the oil supposed to put us in our body?
Right. And I was just sitting here thinking, like, how many books do I have on my shelf? All about aromatherapy, right?
Yeah. Yes. And so it's, I think we're not there yet, finding that balance of how do we balance the academic side of the essential oils with the esoteric, intuitive side.
Well, and I just love what you're doing with your readings. And truly, I just, that right there is just intuitive, being able to just look at a picture and go, ooh, I like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
And not really thinking, oh, what is the botanical name? And what's the chemical composition of that plant?
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
is it going to affect me on a cellular level?
Right. And I think a lot of the average person, it's like, oh, I have to order a subscription and then I got to do the research. I've got to make my own blend and I got to, no, you don't have to do any of that. You really don't. You can just use your visual intuition. We can talk about it. You're going to know what you need. And there's no work involved. I think people are kind of worked out. They're technique minded, technique minded overloaded. They're tipped out, tips and strategies. I mean, all of this is head driven.
Yeah. And the whole DIY idea, I'm done with it. I don't know if everybody else is, but like, I don't want to DIY anything anymore.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned this, because one thing when I came back to work with the oils, I had done that. I had worked with them on common elements, body work treatments. That was what I did 20 years ago. And I was like, that isn't really the direction I want to go today. And there's plenty of people now doing what I was doing 20 years ago. There's enough people doing it. I don't need to do that. I really want to work with the essence of these oils and it connecting you with your own true essence of you,
That's amazing. Well, as we come down to the end of our time together, I just always love to hand the floor over to my guest. If there's anything you'd like to share, if you feel like maybe I forgot something's really heavy on your heart, whatever it is, take your time and share.
Ooh, thank you. Well, I will end with a question to the audience and also my own quote. My own quote would be, you can't discover your soul when you're rigid. You have to be fluid and open to finding it. And I guess I would leave the audience with a question coming from my coaching lens, which is, where is the present interfering with your future?
Just want to let that set for just a second.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Monselete.
Thank you. This was really enjoyable.
Oh, I'm so glad. I love chatting with people. I'm an extrovert, so I love chatting with people from all over. But I just think it's wonderful when I get to chat with someone that I've never met, yet we have this deep, intimate connection through the plants. So Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this Aromatic Chat episode with coach and aromatherapist Monselete Bowden. I will include links mentioned in today's episode in the show notes. I've had some listeners tell me that they're not sure how to leave a review for the show on Apple Podcast. When you open the Apple Podcast app, search for Aromatic Chat. Once you find it, choose ratings and reviews. However, if you're not an Apple user but you would like to leave a review, you can do that on Podchaser. As a matter of fact, I'd love to share this Podchaser review from none other than Michael Scholes. As an aromatherapy teacher, formulator, and researcher since 1987, I have access to all parts of the aromatic equation, but not necessarily the people involved in the aromatic collective. That is until now. Melissa is an exceptional interviewer and collector of the voices behind some of the most influential people who have made aromatherapy their life's work. She has the skill set to get people to open up about their passion, how they got started, their journey, their contribution, and what they see as the next step in expanding the subject. This ultimately will capture one voice with all its nuances and will help unify the subject and contributors as interest in the subject continues to grow exponentially. Wow, thank you, Michael. Your review means the world to me and to the listeners as well. Every review you leave helps new listeners to find the show and support the mission of the show, which is to connect people with the aromatherapist that meets their wellness needs. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching. I'm your host, Melissa, life and wellness coach for the broken, exhausted, hopeless, and overwhelmed. I'm a master transformational coach, registered aromatherapist, and certified body code practitioner. I'll see you next week with my take on the last 2 episodes Until then, peace, love, and aromatics.